It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to share the stage with thought leaders and visionaries who I admire and respect. So I'd like to start by just thanking the Economic Times and Yes Bank for the opportunity. My trip to India this week has included visits to Mumbai and Bangalore and Delhi, and I'm continually struck by the vitality and the humanity which has always been the essence of India. And with our team in Delhi and India being our second largest market at Coursera, I feel very closely connected to the country. Coursera is a global platform, and we're dedicated to transforming lives through learning. We bring together 30 million individuals who come to Coursera to learn and to thrive. Over 150 of the top universities in the world, including Stanford and Duke and Harvard, Yale, Princeton, who partner with us to teach the world, and now over 900 companies and governments who work with Coursera to transform their talent in times of unprecedented change. And this gives us a pretty unique perspective on the trends that are shaping the way that jobs and skills and education might form going forward. And I'm honored to share some of those thoughts with you today. The future of work and the future of learning are converging. And they're converging because the world is changing so quickly due to globalization and technology. Data, artificial intelligence, automation, and social media are having a profound and accelerating impact on our lives. And these forces are changing the way we operate in business, they're changing the nature of jobs, and they're changing the skills that are needed to do those jobs. Now, the bad news is that this kind of change is going to create major dislocations for many people, and many jobs will be lost. In order to stay relevant in a changing economy, people will have to continue to learn and continue to upskill. And they're going to have to do this not once, but for the rest of their lives. Now, the good news is that this creates unprecedented opportunity for millions of people who never had these kinds of opportunities. And because of technology, the best education in the world is now available to everyone in the world. And that's true today, right now. And this opens up an unprecedented opportunity for India. As Prime Minister Modi noted at the NASSCOM conference on Monday, India now has the opportunity to become an advanced knowledge economy and to lead the way in jobs and skills associated with everything digital, from 3D printing to cloud computing. And I believe that the key to realizing this vision is innovating in education. But before we discuss how India might innovate in education in the future, let's go back 40 years and look at how India has innovated in the past. You see, one of the earliest experiments in using technology to create equal access to education happened right here in India. The India Space Research Organization, or ISRO, was relatively young at the time. In the early 70s, they were scoping out the potential to use satellites to help educate the population of India. And in 1975, they launched the Satellite Instructional Television Experiment, or SITE, which was hailed as one of the greatest sociological experiments of all time. They shot a satellite into the sky, and they beamed down instructional television to 2,400 villages across India. And remember, this was 40 years ago, when they didn't have electricity in many of these villages, let alone televisions. So they put in televisions and solar panels and batteries. In the first year, the program benefited around 200,000 students and 50,000 primary school science teachers. 43 years later, India is on the fast track to become a digital economy, but it faces a similar challenge. How do you scale high-quality education across a country so broad and diverse and create, in the meanwhile, an equal opportunity for all? As we've heard already tonight, India's current demographics present both a great opportunity and a great challenge. India today sits on an untapped gold mine in its talent. While the rest of the world is aging, India will be the youngest country by 2020, with an average age of just 29 years old. And by 2030, we'll have the largest working age population in the world, with over 950 million people. India's incredible demographic dividend, this young population, makes it the envy of the world. And this potential is waiting to be realized in a new world economy, where there's a tremendous shortage of skilled labor. The Manpower Group found that 40% of employers globally are finding it difficult to fill positions. And the gap between the rate of acceleration in technology and the rate of upskilling is actually increasing. Our enterprise customers in India tell us that this is a very real problem, and it's not just limited to finding new talent. Most Indian companies are seeing the skills gap widen within their own organizations, and we see this across all sectors, from IT to telecom to financial services to professional services. Technology is making many traditional skills less valuable and often obsolete. And the impact of technology on jobs will be more severe in some countries than others, particularly in India. McKinsey research shows that 51% of work activities in India could be automated using today's technology. And this is higher than every other major economy that they studied other than Japan. And it's happening at a time when over 10 million people in India are entering the job market every year. Now, technology will destroy some jobs, and it will create new jobs. And whether the balance favors job creation or job destruction really depends on India's ability to upskill its young workforce. India's demographic dividend could turn into a demographic disaster unless it can scale access to education and accelerate skills development throughout the country. With a population of 1.3 billion, the stakes are quite high indeed. The current spend on higher education in India is less than 1.5% of GDP, and this trails most developed countries. With many competing priorities for funding, delivery of education will require a new access paradigm that is cost-effective and well-suited to India's diversity. I'm reminded of India's telecom success story, where the country leapfrogged from landlines to mobile phones, and in the process transformed the lives of millions and the Indian economy. This new inflection point in education could afford a similar opportunity to drive India's economy. If India can leapfrog by delivering higher education online, it could be a game changer for young Indians and also for India's economy. And based on what we're seeing at Coursera, this is entirely feasible. New economy, new rules. The summit is well named and well timed. In the age of AI and automation, young Indians will need to adapt and become agile. They'll need to learn throughout their careers just to stay relevant. Developing competencies and reskilling will become a way of life, not a stage of life. And succeeding in this new economy won't be easy, but technology will make it possible.